In honor of Valentine's Day, both of my husbands are here. Come on in, husbands.
Rule number 1. Provide for your family with domino. That's why you're supposed to come in on the other side.
Oh.
So I go in on this side and you went in on this side.
Rule number 2.
Here. You and your 2 husbands.
There they are.
Have 2 husbands. That's rule number
Chris,
2.
you're
best
too
relation.
tall.
Really? That's the best relational advice I've ever received.
I keep ducking down as if that will make Chris be seen better.
2 husbands
There.
equal 2 happiness.
Look how cute. Double the husbands, double the fun.
Wait, you can use this for one of those questions.
Thank you.
Because you'll be like, my husband burps uncontrollably, and then you'll show that clip.
You, Chris. Yes!
Yes! I can burp controllably.
Thank you. Oh!
During her video, we'll just
It's in the back. Everyone knows it.
You guys will be
Make it out the
kissing.
back.
have commentary.
Right behind my head, no one can even tell. Go ahead, make out, kiss.
That's so
I
gross.
sucked your burp out.
That's so gross.
Chris
You just-
burped in my mouth.
That's so gross. Anybody that knows me knows that I would never allow that.
You would burp in my mouth. You wouldn't let me burp in your mouth.
That's
But
right.
you'd burp in mine.
You're right.
What do I do when my SO will only burp in my mouth but won't let me burp in their mouth?
Yeah, what do I do? Oh, do.
I guess get used to it.
I'm too tall.
That's terrible advice.
Baby steps. Introduce burps in their general vicinity and then work up to a burp in the mouth.
Not have
That's a great idea.
Wait.
Yeah.
What do you do when you really like just feel my beard? Like, let's get on camera. Like, that's a thick beard. Like, it's pretty like legit, you know?
You want to see what Chris looks like without a beard? We were doing this in Nebraska. There.
So much cuter.
Not a human, that's for sure. I don't know what I look like.
I don't know how we did it. I guess it's because you were
We
laying
did this.
down.
Right.
Something.
With just a mustache, remember?
Oh, that's right, because we were just you look like there he is. Oh yeah, it's cute, Chris. You could do it.
I could do it.
It's
I
a
could pull it
freaking
off.
baby.
Just word of advice: beard oil, and it makes it too oily, and then you go to kiss them and you leave oil on their face.
Ooh.
Beard balm.
That sounds like zits waiting to happen.
It is. Beard balm is like, it's a little oily, but it's got a shine, and it's like, it's more thick, so it just tames it, you know? Because like, without my beard balm, it's a pretty,
You get a chapped
pretty
beard.
lion's mane.
Oh.
My beard's chapped today. Where's my balm? I need my balm. You want us to leave now?
Sure.
Okay.
What a friggin' hottie!
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Stay spoopy, Bo Beatty. Stay
Thank you.
spoopy.
Boop boop boop.
Yeah.
Hey, we got one! We got a live one!
You can't prove it was me.
I'm just gonna insert that sound when I read that question. It's like, what do I do when my husband farts all the time? Hello everybody. Welcome to my annual Valentine's Day advice video. You might hear some typing in the background, and that's because those 2 guys are here. And they're playing games and listening to music and trying to be quiet and while I do this. I had you guys write in on my Instagram, Katie's Insties, some questions, some advice and relationship questions. So our first question is from my dear friend, Joey Demers. Most people I'm gonna leave private, but his is so funny that I'm gonna ask it with him, with his name. He just says, because I said, hey, have any questions about relationships or need any advice? And he said, 1 question, how? And you know, Joey, I think, or anybody out there who's wondering the same thing, I think it's just luck. Just stumble into someplace. I know, you know what the real answer is? The real answer is date someone that you maybe overlooked the first time. I think that's the secret. I don't know. You'll find it. It'll find you. I know you're just being funny, but My next question is, how did I prep for marriage? If you don't know, I got married this past July. So I've been married on Valentine's Day. It'll be 7 months because I got married on July 14th. So we prepped for marriage we did not do premarital counseling. We planned on it, and then, I don't know, it just kind of never happened. We didn't get married like through a church. We had my father-in-law, hashtag Team Marv, marry us. So we kind of talked to my in-laws a lot for advice since they were doing the ceremony, and we talked to Alex's sisters a lot, and they're both married, and we talked to my parents, and we basically just talked to married people that we admired, and we asked for recommendations of books, of resources like podcasts and stuff. A lot of books that we read His Needs, Her Needs, we read For Women Only and For Men Only, and the book that I found the most helpful was The Wholehearted Wife. I just got like a ton out of that, and some of those books I actually haven't even finished reading because some of them, like The Wholehearted Wife, is a little bit more for post-marriage, but it honestly really helped me leading up to marriage too. So yeah, that was a lot of what we did. I also listened to some podcasts that I liked. One of them was called The Art of Relationships. Yeah, so that's kind of what we did. So we mostly just talked to married people who have marriages that we really admire, and we looked into resources that they admired, and that's about it. And we also, you know, had to have a couple of interventions here and there throughout the engagement process where we were like not communicating and fighting, and just in general, like, the biggest one is not communicating. So just be sure you communicate, and if you need someone to be a mediator to help that, then find someone you trust who can mediate well if you have some beef, because that's what we did, and it was a lifesaver like right before we got married. Our next question is, how can I encourage having no scoreboard in a relationship if my SO subtly enforces it? I think this depends. There are two situations that immediately come to mind with a scoreboard. One is if your partner is like remembering every single fight you've ever gotten into, and every single time you have a new fight or discussion, they like bring up an old fight or like an old thing you said, where it's like more like a grudge and less like the other example that I have in mind, which is more like maybe chores around the house if you live together, or just like general responsibilities. Because I think that those are two very different conversations to have with your partner. So if it's more like chores, then I think the easiest way to fix that is to make sure that both you and your partner have realistic expectations set for what doing household chores look like. Because if it's something like you get home from work and maybe your partner has taken out the trash every day that week, and they feel like you haven't taken out the trash at all, but then they see something kind of snarky, instead of just being like, hey, let's alternate taking out the trash. So I think that's where you need to have really clear boundaries and rules for things like chores and just things that get done around the house. Or a good example in my relationship is if like my husband has just cleaned the counters and then I like walk in and start setting stuff on the counter. At one point in our relationship, that would have been like, we would have just like gotten mad, and he maybe would have said something, and now before I even have a chance to set stuff down, he'll be like, hey, I like just cleaned the counters, so please don't make a mess or whatever. So I think just sometimes even over communicating your expectations for chores or cleanliness, or if it's some type of more structured thing like that. But if it's more like your significant other is bringing up things you've said in the past every time, then that means that there wasn't closure. So I think that needs to be a conversation of like, your partner needs closure somehow, because they obviously didn't get it if they keep bringing something up. And that's more of a conversation that's going to be hard and more of a fight, because it can feel pretty nasty if someone's bringing up old fights that you thought were resolved. So I think if it's something more like that, just try to figure out what can help them feel more resolved, And again, it might just be a conversation of expectations and things that need to go differently when you're having a fight or an argument. My next question is, have you ever struggled with a lack of communication, like answering texts or calls? If so, how did you fix it? Yes. When I first started dating Alex, he would never text me back, ever. And I used to like really hate it. And basically it ended up just being having to be compromised. And I think it also depends, because I've also been like casually talking to someone or dating someone. If they don't text you back, I would more take that as a sign of them not being interested. But if it's someone who has like expressed a lot of interest and you're pretty committed, like if you're boyfriend and girlfriend or engaged or married or something, like something that feels more serious, you're exclusive, then I think you can compromise and have more of a conversation about it. If it's someone you're like casually seeing, I would more like kind of take a step back and be like, if this person doesn't care enough to at least make some type of effort, because some people are just more comfortable talking in person. So as long as it's someone who's, if you bring it up and they say, no, I just like talking in person better, then let that be the compromise and be like, okay, well, then like make sure you make that happen. But then if it's someone that you're more seriously dating, the compromise that we made was like, if the thing I'm texting or calling about is something about like making plans or asking what you're doing, then there's a different expectation than if it's just like I'm telling you a story. Because now it's like if I just text Alex like a big long story, I never expect a text back and I'm totally comfortable with that. But if it's something more like, hey, what time do you want to do this? Or if it's something more time sensitive, it used to really feel disrespectful to me, like he didn't respect my time or didn't see my time as valuable as his, especially when we, you know, weren't married and living together. Like I would be trying to plan my night and I thought we were gonna hang out, and then sometimes I wouldn't hear from him, and that would be really frustrating. And I'd be like, I need you to respect my time and understand that my time is valuable. And if I'm sitting around waiting for a text or a call before I plan the rest of my day, like that's rude. So just get back to me. And so I think just compromising. And so now like Alex knows that if it feels more time sensitive, even if it's like seems casual, like, hey, are we gonna hang out tonight? Like, no, I need an answer as soon as possible. And at least a text being like, I'll text you back in an hour and let you know for sure. Like I need some type of update. So I think set some type of boundary that you guys feel comfortable compromising with. But in general, I just don't expect a text back, and at this point I feel really comfortable with that. This one I'm also gonna say the name. My friend Paul said, what if you haven't talked to you and Alex in a while and you want to hang out sometime? I love you. I love you too, and let's hang out. That's all. Just text me, I guess. One of my best friends texted me and said, how do you deal with your husband constantly farting? And I mean non-stop. I wish I had a solution. Alex has something wrong and he burps all the time, so I know that's not exactly the same as farting, but I mean it's constant burping. Like something's wrong with him. So something is probably wrong with your husband. Something's wrong and he is farting up a storm. So good luck, and I'll pray for you. And maybe at least make it fun, like Mr. Methane. If you haven't seen that, look it up. It's a guy who sings with his farts. It's disgusting. The first time I watched it, I gagged hard. So maybe at least like dump some baby powder on there, and then when he farts, a little cloud will come up, and at least it'll be more fun and exciting than just stinky farts. Also set a rule, like when Alex farts in the car, he rolls down the windows so that it doesn't inconvenience me. I hope you have a super happy Valentine's Day, whether you're spending it with your friends, or your family, or your significant other. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.